Welcome back, Simple Steppers. This is our community of Simple Steps. So we want to refer to you sometimes as Simple Steppers. We're in our Simple Step community here. So this episode today is episode number 71, where we've been talking about 4 new habits last week and this week. And last week you learned about 2 new habits to implement, and we just left you hanging. We didn't even tell you what habits we would cover this week intentionally. We teased you by telling you what we wanted to share about 4 new habits, but only told you about 2. But your wait is over. I know you've been anxiously awaiting. Today we will tell all. You will learn the final 2 habits that you can begin today. Not only will we share about the 2 new habits, but we'll also share the why behind them, just like we did last week, and and the how, and we'll also review the habit loop and address some common obstacles that come up when trying to develop new habits. So just to review, last week in episode 70 on 4 new habits, part 1, we talked about being in the Word, God's Word, the Bible, and drinking water, one of our favorite topics. Both of those are really. And then today we're going to cover the importance of protein and how to incorporate that into your meals, and movement, specifically steps or walking. So that's where we're at today. We're
Yeah,
glad you're here.
I love that there's just these 4 very basic things.
Hmm.
Call this going back to the basics. As far
Yeah.
as protein, for me, that wasn't always a basic one. I just thought meat is for guys, I don't eat a lot of meat. And I don't love meat. So it's just kind of was an easy thing for me to ignore until I started to hear that we really need it, and for many, many reasons. And so it has been increasingly important to me, protein.
Hmm.
And here's the why. Here's the why. When I learned the why, like if you're like me, when you learn something, you're like, okay, now I'm on board.
Yeah.
Just tell me to eat more meat and that's not going to work. I need to know the why.
Yeah.
So protein, why? Why do we need it? Well, this is amazing. It reduces or helps us to maintain our body fat, increases or helps us increase or maintain muscle mass, repair tissues, maintain healthy immune system, increase satiety. I knew I was not going to be able to say it. Satiety helps you stay full longer.
Yeah. Satisfaction. How about I like
Thank
that.
you.
Satisfaction.
Thank
That's
you.
easier.
It's like I can say satiated, but I can't say satiety.
It is hard. I'm so glad we decided that you would read this part.
So much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
This is one of the reasons that eating protein became important to me, is that maintaining good bone density and
Hmm.
then just overall health. Our bodies need protein. They are designed to have protein.
Hmm.
And so how? Let's look at how we can get protein,
Yeah.
and how we can measure protein. Lisa just taught me this, so very interesting. If you're on YouTube, you can actually watch me, but the palm of your hand can be used to determine how much protein. The size and thickness of your palm is going to be about 20 to 30 grams of protein. So it's recommended that women aim for 3 to 6 palm size servings of high protein foods per day. I like that because the 3 is the minimum, and you could just think your breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then if
Hmm.
you can get some
Yeah.
protein snacks in, you're well on your way to the 6. So,
Yeah.
and then plan. Here's how you would do that. You actually plan
Yeah.
your meals around protein and have those protein rich snacks on hand ready to go. And then do some prepping. Prep your protein for a few days at a time. I'm finding that is very, very helpful for me. And
Hmm.
let's look at like this habit loop that we looked at last episode. We looked at a couple of times, comes from Atomic Habits. So with the habit loop, you have the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So as this applies to protein, let's talk you through that. So for your cue, you would already have prepared protein rich foods that you like in your refrigerator where you can see them.
Yeah.
Not the
Not in the back.
right. And craving wise, having readily available protein rich foods prepared and um, helps you to feel more nourished and satisfied after eating. So you're going to feel full, okay? And the response, cooking and then eating the prepared foods that you like. That's what you would actually do. And the reward you get is, or the reward you can give yourself is you might combine eating protein with your favorite fruits, vegetables, your healthy fats and or whole grain carbs, whatever that looks like for your reward. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about with that craving part, that, feeling more nourished and satisfied after eating is a good thing. But like for me, it is really satisfying, and it is, like I do crave this to have the food ready in the refrigerator, like even just getting it ready. That was, um, what I was thinking there with the having readily available protein rich foods prepared is
Okay.
just, I love that when I'll on Sundays
Mhm.
I'll boil some eggs, and this last week I cooked some pork tenderloin like bites in the air fryer that I learned from somebody, on Revelation Wellness. And just having that ready, like I crave that, like having it ready. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Michelle, you mentioned that this is kind of newer, like for you to focus this much on
Yeah.
protein and like really like intentionally eat more of it and add it in.
Yeah.
And part of that was the meat. Like, well, you mentioned like meat was for men.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about Fred Flintstone with his big like slab,
Yes.
and his wife didn't eat that. Um, so what are some of your favorite forms of protein? Maybe they do include meat, or maybe they don't. What are some of your favorite forms of protein?
Yeah, I've been discovering that. See, when you talk about the craving and like having those protein rich foods in the fridge,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been one to prep some meat, and just throw it in there for whatever, unless it was
Uh-huh.
a leftover from the night before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so having like maybe breakfast sausages or something already cooked and in there. Sometimes I do some ham or lamb patties. it it has started to become something that actually does um, become a craving. That's something I want in the morning now that I've been trying to practice it more because it makes me feel satiated and
Mm-hmm. There
full.
you go.
There we go.
You got it. You nailed it.
But because, like I said, I'm not a huge meat eater naturally,
Yeah.
I was really um, delighted to learn that Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are high in cheese, high in protein, because I love those foods. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been having, like, for breakfast this morning, I've had Greek yogurt with different nuts in it and a lot of hemp seeds, which is also high in, surprisingly high. And
Yeah.
so I've been adding a lot. I put a lot of hemp seeds in my yogurt.
Uh-huh.
And I love that. And then I'll sometimes have cottage cheese with avocado.
Mm-hmm.
And that is another thing I love. So yeah, I've just I have like charts too that I've been printing out to
Mm-hmm.
just find all those different things
Yeah.
that, there's uh tofu. There's just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different things that
Yeah.
I tried to explore to get more protein. But
Uh-huh.
it's a new thing for me. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and when you do yogurt and cottage cheese and things, you don't have to cook that ahead of time either. So you're
yeah,
saving a little money there, or money, time and money. I guess maybe
actually
I don't know,
both.
but
Actually
time.
both.
Yeah.
I have had people tell me like, "Oh, what else can I do? Meat is expensive," and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you can even I make my own yogurt sometimes." And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. And just the more that I learn about why I need protein, the more fully committed I get to eating it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good. You mentioned, you said the word snacks at one point, and I thought that might be kind of cool to talk about, like how to get a little protein at snacks. Do you have any
Hmm.
tips for that? Anything that you do?
I'm still like learning that because I know a lot of protein bars and I get them sometimes. They
Mm-hmm.
also tend to have quite a bit of sugar. And so I'm finding that's a hard thing for me to get
Uh-huh.
more protein in my snacks. So I
Mm-hmm.
again will probably go to like a cottage cheese or a slice of cheese or
Yeah.
some nuts and or nut
Mm-hmm.
butters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. I also like grass-fed beef sticks. They have some that are small and some that are longer, but
Oh
those
yeah.
are good, easy one. And like you can make protein balls.
Oh,
Um, yeah, you
I
love
made
making
those
those.
yesterday, and I've already had
Yeah,
two today. Yeah, that's
yeah. Those are a good snack. And you can make a bunch, like I'll make a bunch
yeah,
and freeze half and yeah.
yeah, good.
Um, So how have you been feeling since what have you noticed about how you feel? Like you said that you now start to crave more protein.
Yeah.
Is that because it's making you feel differently?
I think so. Like for one,
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to like the taste of meat more,
Mm-hmm.
and or at least discover which ones I like the most. And the biggest thing is though, when I have protein for breakfast, I truly I'm not as hungry as like I can. Otherwise, I would eat something sort of sugary for breakfast, and like
Yeah.
1 hour later, I'm looking for another breakfast.
Right.
I used to think I was like the three breakfast person. Like I'm really hungry in the morning, and like I would
Mm-hmm.
eat
Me
like
too.
three different breakfasts, like spread it out through the whole morning. And now I don't find that to be true.
Yeah.
And even with lunch, like if I have a really solid protein for lunch, like I might not need an afternoon snack. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Yeah. Michelle and I are both reading The Glucose Revolution right now. And in that, she talks about, we all have heard the term hangry, like
Yeah.
feeling hangry. And I would get that in the mornings when I used to have like cereal or oatmeal or something like that for breakfast. Which not saying you can't have that, but you might feel better if you incorporate more protein along with that, like a smaller amount of that carb or, higher carb. Um, and then add the protein in. But yeah, that hangry feeling of like, okay,
Mhm.
where's the next meal coming from? And like, I find that I just don't have to bring food with me everywhere I go anymore because I am satisfied.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, the next habit we're talking about today is movement. Uh, One of the easiest ways to measure that is like if you have a Fitbit or step counter, your phone counts your steps or something. Yeah, we both have something to measure that, and it can be good information, unless it's something that ends up taking over for you and you find yourself obsessing or
Yes.
beating yourself up when you don't do enough steps. But so we don't want to just focus on walking, but walking does seem to be an easy form. I've got a walking pad that I really have enjoyed. I got it like early December, and it's rainy here in Pacific Northwest, so I will walk in the rain. But the walking pad, oh my goodness, I was really curious looking at my stats for like each month. There's different things you can look at when you have like the Fitbit app, and I could look at every month. In December, the month that I got it, it was way up, like 3 to 4 thousand steps higher on average compared to the other months. And I didn't feel like I was overdoing it or anything. I was
Mhm.
just like, I would read on it. I would watch some of my videos that I watch for the program that I'm in and things like that. So it's been an easy way to incorporate more steps. Um, and we want to share the why behind that to help you be more motivated to do it. So God made us to move. He gave us muscles, bones, and joints, all designed to be moved and used. If you take an anatomy class or something like that, you'll just see all those joints and things that God created us with to be able to move. Um, from a book called Motivational Interviewing in Nutrition and Fitness. These are the things that it lists for why to move. It increases your energy. It's counter to what you might think, but it will. If you have that afternoon slump and you get on your walking pad or you dance to a song or you go outside and walk, your energy will increase. It produces a sense of accomplishment and empowerment because you just did something, you accomplished something, you moved. It can improve your sleep when you are moving, especially earlier in the day. It can reduce feelings of stress and anxiety. I really find that that's one of the biggest benefits for me is mental health mental and emotional health with movement. It can result in fewer aches and pains when done with low to moderate intensity. So probably a lot of us have experienced some like low back ache and pain, pain in the low back, and you feel like you don't want to move, but then you do, and what do you know? You feel better sometimes, not all the time, but
Yeah.
sometimes that it definitely, can help you feel better. It can improve your self-esteem and body image. And I remember that like after my kidney transplant, I wasn't able to move much for a while. And then when I was able to, I remember just walking and feeling like that boost of confidence of just being upright and strong and confident and moving, and increase your strength and stamina. And we could go on and on. Like that is just like I narrowed it down. There were more reasons listed in the book, but it's like those are the big ones. Are there any that you think of, Michelle, that I didn't touch on?
Um, no, that's it.
No.
It's a lot though. It's just that overall feeling of wellness. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I'm just filled with gratitude.
Yeah.
I can
Mm-hmm.
move. I can move.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. Um, the program I'm doing right now is called Precision Nutrition. And in my book, I just loved what it said. It said, when we stop moving, we stop living, repairing, healing, and functioning well. Recent research in neuroscience shows that we think and feel through movement. Activity changes the way our body processes nutrients, which changes the way we look, but also how we think, feel, and perform. Movement prepares our body to handle incoming food properly. For instance, directing nutrients to be stored as lean mass instead of fat.
Mm,
So, that first part, really, if you just want to take that away, when we stop moving, we stop living, repairing, healing, and functioning well.
yeah,
Got to keep moving.
I do love
So, how? How do
it.
we do that? And how do we keep it simple? Well, we always say start small. Start with 10 minutes. If you're doing nothing at this moment or you're recovering, like I was for quite some time after my transplant, start with 5. But try to start with 10 if you can. Maybe it's one lap. Maybe you think of an area around your house, or if you have a big yard, or a lap in your neighborhood, one lap, one song. Dance to one song, march in place to one song. Make it easy, attractive, and rewarding. So one way to do that, to incorporate the habit loop, is the cue would be to have your shoes or other exercise equipment, rebounder, weights, or jump rope, or just some ideas. Just have them out. I know Michelle and I have a friend that she told me recently that her TRX, those are like the straps that people use for exercise. She just has it in her family room, and she'll just do like 10 reps or something, go do something else, and then come back. And because it just lays against the wall really nicely. So have your cue out. Remember, like we talked about last week, you got to leave the neatness aside for now and leave it out. So you'll do it. Craving. The craving is to feel stronger and gain endurance. I think I think a lot of people can relate to that and say they would crave that, to feel stronger and feel, more endurance for whatever reason, whatever need you might have for that. The response is what you do. Move your body. You don't have to make it really complicated. Like, you don't have to put on a YouTube video. You don't have to go to the gym. Just move your body. Think about what you feel, what you enjoy. And then the reward is, a couple ideas I share here for rewards are to share your daily movement with a friend. You can send a picture of yourself, like I just completed it, a selfie, or a picture of the rebounder or whatever, or a picture from your walk. Um, tell them your step count at the end of the day. I made it to 7,000 steps today. Tell your friend. You could use a tracker of some sort. It could be a paper and pencil tracker where you just mark off that you moved your body that day. You might use a tracker like a Fitbit. Um, get your favorite tea, could be coffee, or nourishing smoothie after your morning workout. So think about what is going to come right after your workout, as your reward.
Hmm.
Those are some ideas.
Yeah, nice. And so I know you're always playing Lisa with new ways to move.
Yeah.
you're a mover.
I
And
am.
so you're always like trying different classes and different things. What are there any new ones you've been trying lately in this season?
Mm, yeah. So there's a new class at the gym that I've done twice now that is like circuit training. It is intense. I'm sorry, bug right in front of my face. It is intense. Um, and part of the reward is for me is that it's 45 minutes long. So instead of an hour, it's 45 minutes. So
Yeah.
I think to myself, like, I can do this. I do other classes for an hour. I can do this, even though that one is harder. So I've been doing that one just to have variety. I love another class at our gym called Muscle Blast, and I've done that a lot. And I still love it. And I'm not done with that at all. But just to have some variety. And
Yeah.
then I also did a TRX class recently. If you guys don't know what that is, you could Google that. But it's a strength class. There was definitely cardio involved too. And that I felt sore afterward, and that was a good thing. Like not pain, but sore. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always looking for that. And then um, I'll do like different routes on my walk or something just to keep it. I need variety. I don't know. Not everybody does, but I'm someone that needs variety. I get bored,
Yeah.
so I kind of change it up.
Same, same. And
Okay.
I know that when you shared your goal with us to ride your bike in the afternoons, that you
Yeah.
were able to hone in on more than just the activity, but the feeling that you wanted. So, um,
Yeah.
say more about that and how you're doing it now and how you feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year, um, or was it? I think it was like the end of 2023. Michelle and I did a couple episodes where we were coaching each other, working on habits that we wanted to develop. And in that, I decided I had a new bike. I wanted to ride my bike. um, I went from not riding a bike to wanting to ride my bike in our neighborhood that we both live in that's very hilly. And I was discouraged because it was so hard. So that was an issue for me. I really wanted to. The desire was there. So I'm with you, listeners, where you're like, I want to move. I have the motivation. I want to do this. And just we're going to talk more about this in a minute, but to think about what is getting in the way. And
Mhm.
that experience of coaching each other helped me to see what was getting in the way, but what I really did seek, what I really did desire. And I wanted some fresh air outside is really what I wanted. So I pivoted, and we talked about that in another episode, pivoting. Um, and I walked. So a few afternoons a week, I still try to do that. I try to get a walk outside. I've also discovered that if, like, let's say it's pouring, if I can just go outside under cover and breathe in the fresh air, maybe roll my shoulders a little bit. So some movement, upright, breathing in the cold, fresh air is really what I'm desiring. And
Mhm.
now I still am getting to bike ride sometimes. My husband and I have started biking sometimes, and with the classes at the gym, I've gotten stronger, so I can bike ride better. So yeah, I've done some pivoting, and also, like you said, realizing like what it is that I'm really looking. What am I after? What do I really need?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you have anything to say about just the endorphins that get released after you
Mm,
do a class or how that makes you feel like maybe an hour after you work out?
yeah, yeah. So in it, I'll say during, there are definitely times where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, so if you're thinking that, listeners, like you're not alone. I work out regularly and I still am like in class going, what am I doing? Um, but it's like right when it's over, when you're in the cool down and you're just like, oh man, that feels so good. I loved the other day I taught a muscle blast class, and a couple of the participants afterward while we were cooling down said that like I feel so good. And 10, if I'd asked them that like 10 minutes prior, they might not have said that, but I caught them at the right moment, hearing that. And then, yeah, like an hour later, or even, like driving home 15 minutes after the class, I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to stop, like you, Michelle, were sharing about how you feel more satisfied, your energy level is more even, you're not hungry. Like for us to do these things long enough so we start to see how we really do feel, and checking in
Yeah.
with ourselves to see, how is that helping you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just to play with different kinds of movement. if you're stuck in a rut, just try to move a different way. Even that, like just dance into a song or whatever, and then
Yeah.
notice how you feel afterwards. It's a practice in awareness, and
Yeah.
yeah, I yeah, appreciate that, Lisa. I appreciate
Hmm.
that sometimes it doesn't feel great in the moment. I feel like this is part of the reward though. And sometimes the how you
Yeah.
feel after is not quite enough of a reward in the beginning, but
Yeah.
it can become that.
Totally. Yeah.
As you practice, it might become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why don't feel bad if you're
Yeah.
feeling that, um, need to reward yourself with your
Yeah.
favorite coffee or something afterward. Maybe, there's ways to make that less sugar and all the things. But yeah, a tangible reward is also okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so we're now going to talk about like some keys to success and obstacles that we might come up against, which are so
Hmm.
important to talk about. And so, just a couple simple keys, everybody. Simple steppers is one, plan and prepare. So, I think we've both talked about that. Like when you talk about your cue, you're like planning. I'm putting the protein in. Like I was telling Lisa before that I'll have my protein planned out for breakfast because that's the most important one for me lately.
Yeah.
I really want to have protein in the morning. Sets me up for a great day. So
Yeah.
if I don't have any Greek yogurt or cottage cheese or something, then I've got to like take some meat out and have it ready, or either cook it in advance or have it ready to cook in the morning, depending on what kind of morning I'm looking at. So I'm trying to think of that the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and at least for breakfast. And then so plan and prepare. So important.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like this one. Consider it a process. So we start where we are and we build from there.
Yeah.
I can apply this also to my protein intake. I
Yeah.
still am not there. Like, I don't think I'm getting quite enough, especially on some days. But the more I learn, the more committed I am to the process because I know
Yeah.
I'm learning. Just reading that list off to you guys makes me feel like this is really important and I want to
Yeah.
give it more attention. And so but I'm gentle with myself. Like I'll
Mm-hmm.
start where I can. I'll
Yeah.
plan as much as I can. Every day is not going to be perfect, but I'm just going to build on it. So
Yeah.
you might just start by saying, oh, like I did, I think I need more protein. I'm
Yeah.
going to be more aware that I should probably have a protein at breakfast, and if you do that, that's a great first simple step.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I hear freedom in
Yeah.
that, our shirt. Yeah. Like to have that goal, maybe you've heard the goal of having 30 grams or 25 grams at each meal, but there's freedom in that. It's a
Yeah.
work in process. There's,
Yeah,
steps.
like you wouldn't want to go to bed going, "Oh, I only had 10 grams. I'm such a, failure."
Yeah, right?
So
No,
we're in
no.
process, in process.
And totally. And when you were talking about plan and prepare, that reminded me about last week when we talked about who you want to be. Are you
Mm,
becoming who you want to become?
yeah.
And that does take planning and
Mhm.
preparation and kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. You have to take some steps. It's not just magically going to happen.
Yep.
Okay, so obstacles, some things that get in the way, that can get in the way, um, that we've experienced. Maybe you have too. I have a feeling you have. I have a chapter in my book called Fear, Failure, and Frustration. And it's definitely a thing that fear might get in the way of thinking this is too big. I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Fear of failing, like I'm going to tell people that I'm going to move every day or I'm going to increase my protein and I might fail at that. And then feeling frustrated in that. Um, so yeah, those are definitely some obstacles that can get in our way. And just having that grace for ourselves is a big part of it. Being willing to pivot, being willing to think about we talk about this all the time, but the frequent attempt in learning, the fail, standing for that. We're learning, you're in process, you're learning. So yeah, those obstacles are real, but they don't have to stop you. They don't have to make you be one of the 80% on January 10th that quit.
Mhm.
um, Another thing is just making goals too big or unrealistic. So I think about that with my bike riding goal. I didn't realize it until I got out there to do it, because I had ridden a bike on flat terrain on a vacation and thought, oh, I love bike riding. And I didn't realize it until I went out to do it in the neighborhood, that was not a realistic goal, to like ride my bike for 30 minutes in our neighborhood and all the hills. um, so that can get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the not planning ahead is definitely something that can get in the way. It can make it feel impossible, like you're almost setting yourself up to fail if you're not planning ahead. Like my protein rich foods that are in the refrigerator right now, for me, I had to do that ahead of time so that I can be successful today. And I really think about that I think I believe the best habit keepers are ones that do plan and prepare. Now, does your whole life? No, your whole life does not have to be about it, but a little bit of planning, a little bit of preparing every day will
Yeah.
set you up for some good habits.
Yeah, I was thinking about that planning ahead. Some people find that overwhelming,
Hmm.
but d yeah, just try to not make that overwhelming. Try to do the one simple planning step to set you up for tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Start with something little. So
yeah,
with that, our two simple steps. One will apply to movement and one to our protein, but
yeah.
there's two. The first one, prep some of your favorite protein rich foods. So, I mean, you heard how easy this could be. As easy as I sometimes just set my nuts on the counter and I know there's Greek yogurt in the fridge because it's going to be a busy morning. That's my prep.
Hmm.
It could be as hard as or harder. It's a little more time consuming, let's put it that way, of prepping your meat bites that are small and ready to
Yeah,
grab with you. Those work great for snacks too because they're small and you can take those on the run.
definitely.
So, number one, prep some of your favorite protein rich foods and aim for just 3 servings to start, 3 servings of protein each day. It's your first
Hmm.
simple step.
That palm-sized portion is all you need to think about. Yeah.
So that makes it easier. You don't have to measure and all that stuff. And then 2, determine your cue for movement and get it set up. Aim for 10 minutes of intentional movement each day. So again, this might require a little planning and it's kind of fun to think about, hey, how am I going to move tomorrow and what do I have to set out at night to make that happen? Or do I want to call a friend to go for a walk or any number of things?
Yeah.
You get creative in how you move and who you move with and what equipment you might need and prepare for it. 2 steps.
Hmm.
Simple steppers. All right. We're grateful that you listen. So now you've got your 4 things, right? Let's review them real quick. The 4 basic things, new habits that I want to emphasize that these are not just habits for January.
Hmm.
These habits, if you set them up for yourself right now, are for life. These are for
Yeah.
life. And then number 1, read the Word of God. It is
Yeah.
the foundation, as we said last week, for everything
Hmm.
else.
Yes.
It's for, if you talk about who you want to become,
Hmm.
a lover of the Word of God, a lover of the words that Jesus is speaking over you, and
Hmm.
learning about God's character. That happens in your daily word. And 2, drink your water. Water, water,
Hmm.
water
Hmm.
all
Drink your
day
water.
long, all day long while you're prepping for your other protein and movement. Drink your water. And so, as we learned today, number 3 and 4, have your protein, increase your protein, and get moving, friends. So, thank you
Hmm.
for listening to Simple Steps. If you found this helpful, would you pass it on to some friends? And then stay tuned. We'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone.
We are so glad you joined us today, and we hope we've inspired you to take that one simple step for the whole you.
And if you've enjoyed this podcast, would you help us spread the word by passing it on to your friends and family, and also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram, and those links are in the show notes. And as always, consult your healthcare provider before implementing any major exercise or diet changes. We hope to see you next week. Bye.